Hello everybody, welcome to another Arkham Horror the Card Game list video. Today, Bryn, Travis, and myself are going to be talking about our top 5 favorite investigator weaknesses. Last week was our favorite investigators. Let's see how much crosses over. Let's find out. With our number 5, Bryn's number 5 is Smite the Wicked.
This card is not so much a weakness as it is an opportunity. That's why it's number 5. But that being said, I do like that. I play a lot of Zoe, or I used to play a lot of Zoe anyway. And there are definitely games where you draw this and you're like, man, I have 2 turns to get across the entire board and kill that 4 health guy. And if I don't, I'm going to take a trauma.
And then sometimes you draw it and you're like, I had nothing to do anyway. I'll go kill this thing.
Yeah, sometimes you draw it and the map's like, there are 3 locations, nerd. You're like, okay. let's see if we can find an enemy. And the deck's like, there are no enemies in the deck, and you're like, fucking easy. Don't even worry about it.
My number 5 is Final Rhapsody. When Bryn's saying that he used to play Zoe a lot. I've like never played Jim, but I've played him once, I think. But this card has always stuck with me, and I think it's because of the art. This is my favorite art when we did that video. But I also like the design of cards, their weaknesses, that kind of take the flavor of the investigator and kind of turn it on the head. So Jim, skulls aren't that scary for him, but in this one, skulls are scary. However, this weakness is pretty soft. But I just think everything about it just sells a really nice package. And I think it's the art, though. I think it's the art.
Love the end times subtype.
Yeah, end times is a sick subtype. Like, let's see more of those. Let's see more of the end times. Let's do it. Travis.
Usually when we see the end times ones, we're getting wrecked by Azathoth.
It's true. Yes. You have Detached from Reality as your number 5.
Yeah. The art plays a big part into this one too.
Oh, yeah,
it's also, I just think it's really flavorful from Luke, where sometimes he just loses himself in his wondrous journeys in the dream gates. He just forgets what actually exists and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Just hits the gate box one too many times.
Yeah.
No, but the art for this one's really fantastic. The contrast between him being very realistic and having these like dark, shadowy colors, and then the back being very bright, very flat and cartoony.
Yeah, and it's also art you don't see in this game, which is always a treat.
Yeah, it's not reused. Oh baby, they paid for this one.
Hell yeah! I think they actually paid for a good chunk of the personal stuff, which is where you're going to see the really cool things come in. That's why I think when we were making this list, I was like, let's start with 4 and see if we can get 5, but we easily all found 5.
Easy peasy.
The character weaknesses are pretty strong. There's a lot of wins there. Let's go to number 4 though, with Bryn's, which is Graveyard Ghouls.
Graveyard Ghouls don't seem like they're that scary. They're just 3/3/2, and they do a little bit of damage. But while they're engaged with you, you can't do anything with cards from your discard pile, which it turns out is kind of a big deal. And they have hunters, so they won't just let you go. Plus, it's got a sweet Will Shakespeare quote on it, and I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
They may not be the scariest one. You can always just bury them deep, but
still, when they show up, and then you're like, I have to go fight this, and then for this time, I won't be able to use my ability, right? It's a little bit of a very fair nuisance. My number 4 is Rex's Curse, but we're going to get back to that one, because it's going to be showing up later. Spoiler alert. We'll get
It's just rampant alcoholism.
It's true.
Yeah.
And Travis, sorry?
I've got the Dirge of Reason for my number 4. I like this one. Like, the art's pretty good, but also it single-handedly makes Roland, like, not garbage. It makes him, like, playable. Because you don't have to deal with cover-up anymore.
Yeah.
It's fairly flavorful, I guess. You lose some of your clues to your investigation. And if you can't, then it just goes back into your deck. It's kind of annoying to deal with. Just again, mostly I like it because it makes Roland like a playable character. But it's all in all, it's a neat weakness. Well designed, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Bryn, your number 3 is Racked by Nightmares.
Yeah. This one's on my list, not for anything that it does in its text box, but because I love this piece of art where he's like, is it a mirror that's shattering or is it Pete?
Yeah.
We don't know.
God, every time
It could be both.
Every time you refer to him as Pete, I'm like, that's a dog. No, the dog is Duke.
But also, yeah. Like when you draw it, you're just like, I don't get to play this turn.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
So this is just like our favorite arts 2.0, eh?
Yeah. I mean, Bryn did. I'm not mad at Bryn, but he did ruin the opportunity for 3 Baron Samdys here because that would have been the funniest thing in the world.
That would have been funny. Justin, why do you like him?
This is kind of following the theme of my top 3. These are easily my 3 favorites for these. Is that it makes you as the player scared when you draw it. Not in the sense that like he ruins you, but you're like, oh, Baron, did you really have to show up right now? And then number 2, it makes other players see that you are going to be playing with a handicap for the next little bit. But it also makes it so that you kind of have to now start building your game plan around this new threat that shows up. Also, the flavor of Baron Samedi, the actual, like, I don't want to say lore, because there's a much better word. The folklore of him is interest of mine, and I just think it translates really well to a card here that's just flavorful, fun, intimidating, and you have a lot of control over it as well, which I think is really cool to play with.
Yeah, the reason he's on my list is a lot more like gameplay related, specific. So initially when I played Mary Lambeau, and every time I drew Baron Samedi, I was like, this is awful. This card's everything I don't want to see. Kills my ally, he makes me and my friends die faster, and I have to put Doom on him. And sometimes it's like really awkward to sometimes it's really awkward to get the Doom on him enough to like have him tick off before the agenda ticks over. But if he didn't have that, he would be actually like good. I realized when I was doing the deck guide for Mary Lambeau, there are actually, like, outside of some of the earlier ways in the layer cycles, there's very few ways to get Doom on cards. And Baron Samedi is like, he's free Doom for Marie.
Yep.
He's a free action return. That's sweet.
Yeah.
I like weaknesses like that where you can kind of, like, it might take some work and they should be suboptimal, but they can be situationally good.
Yeah, definitely. And like that's
if you're willing to play around them or build around them.
Yeah, and like while you're like changing how you're playing, he kind of rewards you for it too, which I think is really engaging as a player. Even as another player, like when you have your thing, you're like, oh, thanks to Baron, I have an extra action this turn. Everyone else is at the table, so it's just like thumbs up. They're like, oh man, that's great. That's so awesome.
That's great as they take like 4 heart damage or whatever from their treachery.
I do also love that he just, if you have someone with you, he just like kills them. He's like, sorry, you're dead. Like,
they just explode and then it's like Baron Samedi standing there and you're like, what?
The art, like, as not to go on what Travis said, this is just favorite art 2.0, but I think this is it's great. Yeah, I think the art's really cool. He has this like
pretty good.
He has this kind of like I don't want to call him sexy, but like I think he's a bit sexy, right? And you're like, whoa, Baron, slow down. Then he blows that smoke, and you're like, okay, I gotta go.
Like he's supposed to. He's supposed to be like entrancing and like
it's working.
Appealing.
It's working.
It's not just like his facial expressions, like it's how he's dressed. Look, who actually wears a top hat like that unless you're trying to be suave?
Yeah, no doubt, eh? Not to
no
mention,
one just
like,
dresses like that because that's how they dress.
Purple? Oh my god, purples and pinks.
Even like in this time period.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's move on. Let's go to number 2. Bryn, your number 2 is Watcher from Another Dimension.
So this one I like because of its design. Like it's the only person this could ever matter to is Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody else would ever care about this card. So not only do we have like a way to punish you for playing the game that you want to play as Patrice, but also like it might just kill you.
Yeah.
You have to be very aware of the fact that this card is in your deck. It does so much. And even if it never gets to attack you, it still reduces your hand size by 1 because you can never discard it.
Yeah, which really matters for
except
Patrice.
by the text on its card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like all around, I think this card is really cool.
I wish I had a better poker face when I would play this game, because I'm sure every time when we played her, I would always be like, oh, whenever I drew it. But yeah, this card, I think all your points are really sound. I think this card's really cool, and it's very fun to play around too. Because you can
Plus,
plan
it's also
and
got
beat it.
sweet art for this art 2.0.
Yeah. My number 2 is Dreams of the Deep with Silas. This kind of copy paste with what I said earlier about Baron Samedi. I like the cards that force you as a player to change your strategy. And this one is now you're going to have to pass a test at -2. Like Silas, he commits cards. It's what he does. It's like you have to then commit more, or you're going to keep failing or keep taking damage. You can push it off for a bit. However, it's going to add up. Another thing is that I kind of like the flavor behind it. Silas Marsh, he has the whole Innsmouth blood running in his family, the whole Deep One thing. And I kind of like that the flavor of it in my head is that he's good at what he does because of what he learned through his family and what he learned on the sea. However, the fact that he keeps thinking and dreaming and all this stuff about how he potentially could be a Deep One, it runs in the family, it could be happen at any moment, makes him worse at what he's good at and what his family and life is trained in. And I just think this card works. I like Silas. He was my number 1 last, and there's a lot of history between me and him, and I just think this card's a really good time. Fun to play with, but the right amount of scary, and you're not overwhelmed by it. Travis, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Shell Shock. This is my excuse to talk about Mark Harrigan in this video.
You need one each video. I get it.
Actually, though, like this, like on one hand, it's kind of sad that his weakness is so bad, and like it's kind of bad design that like you just never have to care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I like it because it's always a dead draw, and there's definitely situations where it will just kill you, but they are few and far between, and I don't think I've ever had to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It does a good job of, well, I don't think the art's like particularly anything special, like art-wise. It does a good job of sort of padding Mark's backstory.
Yeah, it tells a great story, this card, the art.
It does a good job of illustrating his character and like why he's the way he is.
Yeah.
Which is like perfect for a card called Shell Shock.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just nice and simple. It's got a great quote in the flavor text.
Yep.
And yeah, it's garbage.
It's garbage, and I love
This
it.
card does a great job of illustrating how Sophie is actually also secretly his weakness.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our number 1s. Drum roll, please. Bryn, your number 1 is Stars of Yades.
Yeah, there's actually no way to get around this weakness. You can't dodge it, or like the only thing you can do to avoid this is not draw it. That's it. It just shuffles back into your deck every time that it does something. Sure, it doesn't seem like it does a whole lot, but you know, when you lose like the deny existence you were planning to play 3 times this game,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, you run out, you had a spectral razor underneath you, and you were planning to use that to deal with every enemy that was going to be a problem, and now you just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing you could do about that.
And the art's sick.
Yeah, like for art 2.0, art video 2.0, the art is sick.
Yeah.
But this one, like you always have to be aware of the fact that it is in your deck, and what happens if you draw it and discard the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It also gets real scary when you get down to like 10 or 7 cards left in your deck, and you're just like, man, I don't want to draw cards anymore. This is just gonna suck.
My number 1 is Min's weakness, the king in yellow. Copy, paste what I said about Silas Marsh, what I said about Baron Samedi, but I like the cards that, once again, have to just, you have to play differently now. You're a character, you've been following this playstyle for a bit, but you need to turn that off and do something else. And this card is like, I just think it's wild. Because you're so used to Min being like, here's one card, then all of a sudden you're like, I have to do 6 of the same skill icons for a test. You don't need to pass or fail, but just the resources needed to go into this, while suddenly the fact that like you were helping your friends throughout the whole thing and now suddenly you're being selfish and not because you are nose deep reading the play, right? So like that's the thing, right? Until you're through this, you can't actually help anybody, which I think comes across really cool in a flavor. And I always love having it happen because then you feel like you're on your own little personal quest of being like, all right, got to get through this book, so let's get a bunch of resources. And I just think it's a really good time.
No, it is really on flavor with the King in Yellow, how it like distracts her from everything else.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
She becomes obsessed with it.
Yeah. It's so cool. All right, Travis, you and I got to talk about Rex's curse.
Yeah, this weakness is like so well designed. It's just so Rex.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like Brent mentioned earlier, maybe his curse is that he is an alcoholic. Like, maybe that is what's plagued him his entire life, but... So, like, for those of you who don't know, Rex's backstory is a family curse, and it makes bad things happen to him. That's why he moves out to Alaska and tries to live on his own. And then something else comes to his attention. He's like, well, I gotta go check that out, in spite of my curse. And this card just does such a great job of embodying a curse.
Yes.
In the previous games, there was, like, actual cursed thing you would make that made you roll the dice worse. And that you could just never get rid of it when you were Rex.
Yeah.
And this just does a great job of like you when you draw it, you're like, this is life now.
Yeah.
Like my curse, curse caught up to me. I just have to play with this curse.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that whenever there's a new game, you're excited to see Rex, to see what his curse will be, and I think this is the best version of the flavor of the Rex family curse, right? Because like, the other ones really hinder you in all the other Arkham Files games, but this...
I've always enjoyed playing them because I really enjoy trying to figure out how to, like, cheese your way out of them.
But this one has, like...
This is, like, the best design for, like, just gameplay.
Yeah, and it also just, like, shows up, right? Like it's less like he's always cursed, but more the fact that, like, you're unlucky when you draw it. And then you get rid of it, but it comes back. It's like that thing where, like, Rex is having that moment where, like, things are all right, then all of a sudden he's like, oh, no, there's a dead fly in this alcohol I'm dependent on. What am I going to do, right?
Yeah, and he's like, is it happening again? Is the curse acting up?
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, definitely.
He drew this card. But no, it does a great job of, like, just being a constant hindrance without being crippling.
Yeah, and it's, like, so fair. It's so easy to beat, too, because you're usually going to just be investigating, but then it shows up again, and you're like, all right, I lost a draw, and now I have to deal with my family curse all over again.
The irony of it is if you're, like, actually playing full power Rex, you just, like, blow through it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're like, I'll just pump 2 into my higher education every time, baby. I'll never fail.
Really glad that Rex came out early in the game's lifespan, so he wasn't released when the new Blessed and Cursed tokens were there. Because
I was about to say the same thing.
Because I feel like any design involving those would not nearly been as good or as flavorful or as Rex as this card's design is.
Yeah, they probably would have done something where, like, every time you succeed, it'd be like a permanent. Every time you succeed a test, you put a curse thing into it, and then, like, you get rid of it, like, when you fail a test after drawing 2 of them or some garbage.
It just wouldn't have been elegant. This affects only Rex, and it's a home run.
It's so good.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, everyone watching at home, what are your guys' favorite investigator weaknesses? And what do you agree with on the list? Is there anything that you hit? And are you cursed like Rex? That's the ultimate question.
Justin's asking if you're an alcoholic.
I can't.
You shouldn't call people out like that.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm sorry.
It's a little harsh.
We're looking for. We have a long list of videos to make, but we're working on these like weekly now. So if you have suggestions for things we should do, I'm going to be going back over old episodes to look at comments. But if there's list videos you want to see, let me know in the comments, and I'll throw them on our list, and we'll make sure we get to them pretty quick. yeah, because we love making these and we love hearing you guys' comments on them. So have a good one. In the meantime, we'll see you next week for another list video or on the many other Arkham videos we release throughout the week. Thanks for watching. See you soon.